Nature's workshop. The world is a living image of God in which His power is working all through. The huge workshop of nature is fitted with all the necessary equipment needed for the work. The power is running from the center to keep the machines in motion. There is a separate set of machines for each type of work. The power is rolling on, but without any awareness of its intention, purpose, or events, giving out finally the prescribed results in a routine way. It does not mind an intrusion, obstruction, or accident that might happen to come in the way from any outside cause or by the effect of defective working of any of its parts. For efficient working of the machinery, it is therefore essential that all its parts are in order and that none of them is loose or defective. For this, there are subordinate functionaries that work in the capacity of maestries, supervisors, and controllers. Their duty is to look to the proper regulation and adjustment of the activities of the individual parts. Who may these functionaries be? One might say that they must be gods and goddesses. Certainly not. Gods and goddesses are in fact the various powers of nature, like the different parts of the machine. They go on with their set routine of work, irrespective of everything else, and they have not the capacity to go even an inch beyond. The real functionary at the root is the man. It is he who has to look to the proper regulation of nature's machinery and to maintain the right functioning of its parts. This may be surprising to some, but it is a fact beyond doubt. Should I go ahead?
Yeah, you go ahead, please.
Man is nature's instrument. He possesses immense power and has also the implements required for the utilization of that power. That wonderful implement is the mind, and it is exclusively the possession of man. Even gods who are thought to be the objects of worship do not have mind. The animals, however, are said to be possessing mind, but it is of a different nature. It is, so to say, in an inert state in comparison with man's mind, which is full of life and activity. The mind owes its origin to the first stir, which came into effect by the will of God to bring the creation into existence. Such being the true nature of the human mind, it is highly discreditable on the part of these pseudo Mahatmas to rail against it in the bitterest terms, proclaiming it as the worst enemy of man. They do not take into consideration its real value and merit. In fact, it is the only instrument for bringing things into action. It is the same divine force which descended down in the form of Shog. It is the same power in a miniature form which has now brought into existence the tiny creation of man. It is the same power which is an action at the root of everything. Now, whose power is it? Is it of God or of man? The answer is simple. It is definitely of man because God possesses no mind. If he had it, he would also be subject to the effect of samskaras. It must therefore be the human mind that works at the root. Now, about man's mind, we hear a good deal about its evils, but all that may be with reference to its present state of degeneration. Really, we have spoiled the mind so much that its true nature seems to be almost lost, and it has therefore become a source of constant trouble to us. As such, instead of helping the proper working of nature's machinery, it serves only as an obstruction or impediment. Thus, we arrive at the conclusion that mind, which is generally thought to be the cause of all evil, is also the only cure for it if handled properly.
Sir, as such, instead of helping the proper working of nature's machinery, it serves only as obstruction or impediment. How does mind has an impact on the nature's machinery and all?
You see, it is if you take the example of a human body is a collection of some trillions of cells,
Right,
and
sir.
different organs like heart, liver, spleen, hands, feet, and all that. All of them work in a sense of cooperation so that the whole human entity fulfills its teleological function, actually.
Right, sir.
So suppose if there is any organ goes on strike, it does not want to do its job, like kidney doesn't want to do its job, or the
Right.
heart doesn't want to do its job, then all the cells will be affected. They will become sick. Everybody becomes sick, actually.
Right, sir.
So even the organ which is not working also will die, actually, because it's dependent on other things. So there is a cohesion and unity between all the organs or the cells in the body. In a similar fashion,
Right.
all human beings, all flora and fauna, all the animals, plants, everything, they are just like different cells in this whole cosmic organism. So unless every action of all these things will have a repercussion in the whole organism. So suppose if any selfish action is done,
Right,
any
sir.
action which does not cause happiness to yourself and happiness to others is an obstruction in nature, actually.
Right.
So every selfish action is an obstruction in nature. So causing it causes samskara, and the law of karma comes into play.
Okay. Okay. Right.
So only in yogi, what happens? There is no disharmony between his will and God's will. There is a harmony between his thinking and God's thinking. That's why he's in bliss and happiness. Rest of the human being, they put obstructions into nature's workshop. So by acting selfishly, by thinking that my body and mind belongs to me, the property belongs to me, I should conquer the neighboring country and then occupy that land, and then I should enjoy all the pleasures. All this thing is obstruction in nature's workshop, actually. So pretty much every human being who is acting to satisfy the needs of his ego is actually putting obstruction in nature, actually.
It's, thank you.
Only in yogi, only he tries to, surrender himself, and he consider his body and mind as belonging to God or the master, and he does his duty as per the dharma, actually, righteousness. So
Sir.
then his will is in harmony with God's will. he is actually, that person is also given the responsibility to correct the functioning of the nature also.
Sir. Okay.
So when a yogi's mind becomes disciplined, he becomes one of the instruments of God actually.
Sir.
That is the idea. So pretty much anybody who is under the influence of avidya or under the influence of ego is obstructing nature. Everybody. There is no exception to this rule. Only when we are meditating sincerely with a wish to, with a craving for realization, at that time when you are meditating, you are in harmony with world. Actually, you may be helping the machinery of nature. But rest of the time, when you are not in the constant remembering the feeling of the presence of God, you are obstructing the nature actually. Okay, we'll go ahead.
Sure, sir.
Almost the whole world believes that at times when the world has gone down into utter degradation, special personalities in the form of saints, prophets, avatars, or incarnations come down to the earth to free it from the evil influence caused by the misdirected trend of the human mind. Thus, nature's work can be accomplished only through the medium of some superhuman personality appearing in human form, because he is in possession of the mind, which is the only instrument to bring things into action. But the mind he possesses is in its absolute state, almost akin to the divine power in the form of Shobh. As a matter of fact, mind and Maya are the only two things upon which the entire working of nature's machinery rests. But they are so grossly misrepresented by the neophytes. They do not know that these are the two main factors which enable us to secure approach up to the divine. Actually, human existence has for its one end the mind and for the other end the Maya. Both linked together serve as a barge for our journey to the shore of the ocean of reality. People may wonder to hear we talk of the ocean, whereas everyone has so far been led to thinking of remaining merged in reality forever. This is the point which is not sufficiently cleared even in the scriptures. Reality may be represented as a sphere which one has to pass through during the course of his march. After landing on the other side, we have to march on still. How far? None can determine it precisely. The very word shore brings to our mind the idea of a vast expanse, for which the shore is only a marginal line. How far this sphere extends is beyond imagination. I'll take a pause here before moving to the next page. I'll read forward. We have been sailing so far through the ocean, but while on the barge, we had a very pleasant journey, enjoying the cool morning breeze and the refreshing effect of water. This seemed to be so tempting that everyone would like to have such a pleasure trip. It offered him a sort of satisfaction, emotional joy, and in a way something like peace of mind. And it came to be known as Anandam. We have now disembarked upon the dreary shore. The freshness of the water is gone. There is no pleasant breeze. There is no pleasant breeze, nor are there ripples, exciting emotion. There is no charm, no attraction, no enjoyment, nothing but a dreary waste, devoid of everything. That is also a source of anandam, but of a different type. In order to differentiate it from the previous one, I may call it as anandam, absolute. It is constant, unchanging, and real, without any rise or pitch. Proceeding on through this infinite expanse, one must in due course arrive at a point which is the point of man's origin, and which has been unattainable even to avatars. The real state of Anandam is then brought to light, and this being beyond words cannot be expressed in any way. It can only be realized and experienced in a practical way. One having reached up to it feels himself lost, but that being the secret of nature is revealed only to him who is one with nature. Now, one on the path proceeds along, utilizing all the resources at his disposal. He possesses mind and the indriyas, which are to be devoted to service. Service may be taken as the stepping stone towards devotion, but it is by no means all and sufficient. Service refers to the action of a physical body, including the indriyas. But there is a mind as well in the background, and the same thing must also be therein. One might say that the actions of the body are all subject to the activity of the mind. So when the body is engaged in service, the mind must also be with it. That is not my sense. I mean that if it is actuated by the feeling of love and sympathy, the action shall be all right. Otherwise, it shall only be formal and associated with some selfish motive. In that case, the result will be quite the reverse. Our primary motive is to develop devotion, and for that, service is only a means. We serve in the real sense only when our motive is sincere and honest. It carries with it a sense of duty as well as of love, the two being inseparable from each other.
Vivek, yeah, very important point. We have to
Yes, sir.
allow our mind to accept that idea of Babuji and then allow the mind to change and become that actually, what he's trying to say.
Correct.
We should allow our mind to accept this idea and bring it into practice. So even though the preceptor does the work by instilling these ideas, I mean, in the form of suggestions, if the mind doesn't accept, it will not work. That's why Babuji says you have to repeatedly give suggestions.
Correct.
So at least while reading this, his words are actually his consciousness. If you welcome them with a sense of reverence and worshipful attitude, it is as good as accepting, and then the mind is ready to change and transform actually.
Yes, as it
Okay.
says, it is not just with the indriyas, it is to be it is actuated by the feeling of love and sympathy.
Yeah.
So even when we are, maybe reading it, that feeling has to be there, has to be
While
associated
reading,
with.
we have to feel that Babuji is actually talking to us, and we should be, our whole being should be attentive to every sentence which he is talking.
Yes,
It is
absolutely.
actually like a meditation of prayer, actually. वो idea है तो
Yes,
then we'll benefit from this reading session.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah. There may be others who, though they do not seem to be active for the service, have in their heart tender feeling for others. That may also be good, to some extent at least, though they can be said to be walking only with one leg. I do not mean to refer to those higher souls who are firmly established in the divine and entertain in their heart no thought but of Him. Such souls may be rare, very rare indeed, and there remains nothing in them undone by way of duty. They, with a heart rent as under with the intensity of love, are themselves unaware of it and are not in a position to decide what to do or not. But after having attained that final stage, they have also to revert to it, though in a somewhat different way. Their services at the time are beyond conscious knowledge, and the idea of service too seems to be out of the mind. The whole action becomes automatic and spontaneous without any conscious thought or effort. For the attainment of that highest stage, it is necessary for one to make the voice of his heart audible at the base. How can it be accomplished? The simple answer would be to secure as much nearness as possible. How can that be attained? For that, there is nothing but practice and abhyas. The only effective way to attach oneself firmly to the abhyas is to link himself with the unlimited, or in other words, with the one who, having linked himself with the unlimited, has attained the state of perfection. When you have linked yourself thus, it means the great personality has taken you into the bosom of his heart. Your effort towards going deep into it means you have taken up the path towards the ultimate. That is what the word surrender conveys. And this is the only surest path for the attainment of complete perfection. So long as you do a thing and know that you are doing it, it is not the right course, and you are away from the level of surrender because the feeling of ego is also there. Surrender is free from any conscious idea of ego. Everything there goes on in an automatic way, according to the need of the moment without any previous or afterthought. But greatest precaution is to be observed in this respect. Surrender to one who is not up to the mark or has not reached up to the final limit of perfection is highly detrimental to our ultimate purpose. But at the same time, it is very difficult to judge and decide whether one is really so or not. That is a matter of luck, which is subject to the effects of samskara. Prayer can also be of help in this respect, for thereby alone can you create ripples in the waves of nature. The reaction of it shall be automatic, and the solution will come by itself.
We'll stop here. A significant article. We have to meditate and benefit from it.